Hello everyone, welcome to an analysis of dance where we discuss the movements and debuts of the Billboard Hot Dance charts in immaculate detail, with in-depth reviews of each debut each week. Man, the weeks just keep getting cooler and cooler, don't they? I mean, I wasn't expecting a whole lot out of this week. It felt pretty dry in terms of releases, and there wasn't a huge amount that could have made a big impact, but that also unfortunately meant that Depeche Mode's new album Memento Mori didn't really see any sort of impact at all, not getting a single debut this week. I mean, I'm not surprised. Their audience is more focused on the UK and Europe as opposed to the States, but it's also a damn shame because the album is really great and deserved at least a little bit of attention. What this did mean was that we only saw two notable debuts at the very top with a few filler songs to fill in at the bottom, and given the quality of some of these, I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of them didn't stick around. So in other words, this week doesn't really matter all that much, and given some of the albums that are on the horizon, I would like to think that's a good thing. But yeah, our top 10 remains remarkably stable once again, as I'm Good Blue by David Guetta and BB Rexa just commands that lead to number 1. I mean, seriously, it's 50 spots ahead of our number 2 here. It's got every single margin supporting it, even if airplay is really rotating this one out fast. And yeah, I don't see anything challenging it anytime soon, which is a goddamn shame. Speaking of our number 2, that's Bizarrap Music Sessions Volume 53 by Bizarrap and Shakira, which honestly has just completely nosedived on streaming, and it doesn't have any airplay support, meaning it will probably start falling down a fair bit in the future, which is a shame because I think it deserved number 1 more than I'm Good Blue. What surprised me was River by Miley Cyrus just holding steady at number 3, but it doesn't have any sort of traction outside of the radio, as the streaming and sales have just really given up on this one. Kinda weird considering it was getting a pretty decent push off the album and it got the music video, but hey, with the song being generally mediocre, I'm also not that surprised that people aren't really catching on to it. But if you want the bigger full story, that's 1035 by Tiesto featuring Tate McRae at number 4, where the radio is finally starting to really rotate this one out and streaming is on the downswing. Given it fell off the Hot 100 this week, I expect this to slowly fall as well, after a pretty good run, I will say. Hopefully this also applies to Hold Me Closer by Elton John and Britney Spears in number 5, which is losing even harder on the radio and doesn't seem to have much in the way of streaming to begin with, so I expect this song to be slowly on its way out too, and I can only hope it goes away sooner rather than later. It's not good. But of course, the real song that's likely to challenge these is El Merengue by Marshmello and Manuel Turizo at number 6, which is just absolutely dominating on streaming, and radio is slowly starting to pick this one up. If it gets any sort of big momentum in any of those formats, I can see this overtaking soon. And given it rose up the bubbling under, that's more than likely about to happen, which is good. I mean, it's definitely more of a threat than Trustful by Pink at number 7, where the radio is the only reason that this is actually sticking around, and given Pink's notably poor streaming across the board, yeah, this was not going to stick in the top 5, and honestly, even though I really like the song, I'm also not surprised that it's underperforming in comparison to a lot of her other singles. But now we get an expected jump into the top 10 that I think everyone saw coming. Bizarrap Music Sessions Volume 54 by Bizarrap and Arcangel up to number 8. And given that the streaming is the only thing that's keeping this up, I don't see this lasting at this spot, especially given the attention to Volume 53 is still lingering. But on that note, Metamorphosis by INTERWORLD is somehow still here at number 9, as the streaming is so robust even though it's got nothing else. And Miracle by Calvin Harris and Ellie Goulding fell down to number 10. Look, it's got airplay, it's got streaming, but it's on a slow rise. I honestly am not surprised that it's getting knocked down, but I do expect with certain songs falling above it that this can rebound, or I can at least hope so for that. But on that note, our falls and fall-offs, and we didn't really get much in the latter category outside of Saturday Sunday by Jason Derulo and David Guetta just underperforming, but nowhere near as badly as Next to You by Loud Luxury Dubs and Kane Brown falling after 4 weeks. Wow, that was a flop single. Clearly people don't like the country EDM fusions anymore. This is a terrible performance. Outside of that, not many falls, and most of them are pretty predictable. I mean, you had your KX5 falls as expected as the album falls back, with Sacrifice with Sophie Tucker to 39 and Bright Lights with Arco down to 35. Not really that surprising there. As well as the gains from Everything You Have Done Medusa Edit by Genesee falling back naturally down to 43. Shame this isn't going to be a hit. It's a really good song. Outside of that, expected falls off the debut for Baby Again by Fred Again, Skrillex and Fortet down to 16, and Dreams by Griffin down to 30. Honestly, that's not as hard as I expected. I hope it actually sticks around. And then that just leaves All Nighter by Tiesto at 24 and The Hard Way by PNAU and Khalid at 23. Quite frankly, the latter one stuck around way higher than I expected. It might actually be their first year in contender hits as a main artist, which I can't complain about because it's already starting to grow on me a fair bit. I actually quite like it now. But shock horror, we had a ton of rebounds to really fill in the gaps from KX5, including a return for Dash Star by NOTD at 50. Honestly, this song's run has been really shocking to me. The fact it was able to come back at all, especially given the bigger songs that didn't come back after the Ava Max and Rihanna weeks, yeah, that's really surprising and also really promising. This might actually make the year-end list at this rate, which is really good to hear. The jumps, however, are what are more important here, mostly being a bunch of Phonk songs rebounding hard as expected, with Crystals by Isolate.exe at 29, Shadow by Onimaru and Smithmain at 32, and even Flare by Henderson at 40, although I hope that one doesn't stick around. As well as Clouds by Bunt and Make Traveler making a really weird rebound to 27. This song's been all over the place it's run. The more interesting story though comes with the Ellie Do Hey songs that have charted and are actually both picking up gains this week, with Money on the Dash with Wethin up to 36 and Back to You with Lost Frequencies and Ex Ambassadors off its debut to 37. Quite frankly, she's had a great year and these songs sticking around really prove that she's got a lot of staying power in the EDM scene. And given I like both songs a fair bit, I'm not complaining if both become hits. Honestly, I'm surprised Lost Frequencies song was able to actually pick up considering how late it charted, but hey, I'm not complaining. But on to our new arrivals, and only 5 of them this week, starting off with number 49, No Sleep by Regard and Ella Henderson.
Change so fast tomorrow. I'll forget all the dreams we had. I'll wake up on the back. I'll be saying,
man, it feels like Regard's just been struggling to get a major hit in the States since You. I mean, Hallucination with Years and Years was a minor hit, but didn't really stick around, and No Love For You with Drop G just outright underperformed. So I'm not surprised that he's been working with Ella Henderson, who's had a pretty decent run in the United States as of recently. I wasn't sure what to expect, but given Ella Henderson's recent streak of singles, I wasn't excited, and actually it's not bad. I didn't mind this at all. Part of that is the obvious sample of Insomnia by Faithless that bounces off the keys and some really nice percussion, alongside a great bass line and Ella Henderson's really ethereal vocals with some great vocal effects that honestly give her one of her best vocal performances in recent years. And she doesn't have those annoying inflections like on 21 Reasons or Crazy What Love Can Do that made those songs so insufferable for me. I mean, much like his other singles, this doesn't really do anything mind-blowing. The sample does feel a bit overwhelming on the song, and it doesn't really have that much originality to it. But still, this is pretty solid. I'll definitely take it over No Love For You, and even if I have no expectations this is going to stick around given how low it debuted, it's definitely a pleasant enough song. Pretty good stuff, I like this. Number 46, Crying on the Dance Floor by Endless Summer and Violet Days.
so let's raise a glass to all the past ones, but I won't be crying on the dance floor tonight.
I'm honestly surprised this alias didn't chart last time they released the song. For those of you who don't know, Endless Summer is a collaborative alias between Jonas Blue and Sam Feld, who has since recording this have only released 2 songs under the alias, the first of which didn't chart at all. Now, of course, I wasn't really looking forward to this. These 2 working together sounds like a complete fucking chore, and given their quality as of recently, I wasn't excited. But wow, this thing is bad in a way that I did not expect. For one, it's rooted around a sample of Better Off Alone by Alice DJ, and not only does this give me some serious I'm Good Blue vibes in the way that the piano just bounces off some absolutely god-awful mixing, where the production just sounds flat and those drops have no impact whatsoever, and Violet Days, who also sounds like Baby Rexha in the worst way possible, with her whiny diction that may be somehow even worse, but the song just feels like a blatant TikTok bait, and given that it charted, yeah, this is really not a good sign going forward for this alias. It also should not be a surprise from that comparison that I think this song is fucking garbage. There's just nothing authentic or remotely unique about this at all. This is stuff that David Guetta and BB Rexha have done much better. I mean, say what you want about that song, it's absolutely fucking garbage and bottom of the barrel trash made by 2 artists that don't deserve any more attention, but at least it's competently mixed and is way catchier than this, where even the sample just sounds awful against Violet Days' vocals and just feels forced as all hell. I mean, seriously, what's the point of having it here? When you've reached the stage where I'm complimenting I'm Good Blue, you found a song that is truly fucking awful in the worst way possible. One of the worst charting songs I've seen on this chart in recent memory, and given that we've had to talk about Melon this year, yeah. Fuck this song, this is absolute trash. I'd skip it. Number 44, Rapture by INTERWORLD. This honestly doesn't surprise me at all. Metamorphosis is by far the biggest Phonk song on this chart so far. It's still charting even after 26 weeks, and why not check out what other songs that INTERWORLD has under his discography. I mean, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I did like Metamorphosis a fair bit, so I had some hopes for this. And yeah, no, this one just isn't doing it for me. I don't know what it is about it either. Maybe it's just the slower tempo, or the fact that the song just feels very awkwardly paced, where there's a lot of stuttering and choppy effects that just don't really work at all, or that the rap sample is barely even there against the harder hitting bass beats, and some really flat synth production that just doesn't really sound good. It's weird too, this is in the drift funk side of this genre, and the tempo and sound is usually something that I can quite enjoy. I don't know, this one really should hit for me, but man, it felt flat. Maybe it'll grow on me in a bit, but honestly, given the sound of it and how much I've tried to give this more listens, yeah, no, this isn't doing it for me. I'd skip it. Number 19, AM PM by NOTD and Maia Wright.
We can do whatever we like. Yeah, we could feel like this forever. I want you front and center. I could be your 9 to 5. Ooh.
I'm honestly shocked that this song was able to cross over as high as it did. I mean, the last time that NOTD had a real impact was Nobody in 2021. This is actually the first time I'm talking about this duo in this series, which really does surprise me here. But yeah, I was mostly excited for this, given that NOTD's recent singles have been really solid, and Maia Wright's been a really strong presence within the dance scene, especially after Body Back with Griffin. So how was it? Honestly, pretty solid, but again, just like that Regard song, it's nothing mind-blowing for me. My mind drifted to Grant from Monster Cat here with the off-kilter synths against a really heavier percussion line and some really wonky tempos that honestly make this a really different sound than what I expected from NOTD. Hell, the song detours into these Vocaloid passages where Maia Wright sounds great against the mix, and honestly it's something that I did not expect an NOTD would be capable of, but honestly they should try more. It's really good for them. Maia Wright especially just really fits well with this production style, where she's singing about this guy who wants to be her center of attention night and day. It's honestly a really cute sentiment, and the song just sounds great enough to match it. Now, just like Grant, I don't expect this to have a ton of replay value for me. It does feel a bit clunky in spots, and again, the sound of future bass is something that I really need to be in a certain mood for, but while it's here, and while I'm in this particular mood, honestly, this is pretty damn solid. I like it. It's a good song. And finally, number 12, With All My Heart by ILLENIUM and Jake.
I'm gonna trust with all my heart. I'm gonna give you everything. So with all my heart, I'm gonna try to play my part. Turn on the lights when things get dark. I'm gonna give you everything.
So Insanity was a complete flop single, and I think ILLENIUM even knew that as well. I mean, the short release date between it and this new song with the Golden Hour guy was definitely not a good sign that he had any faith in that song's attention. Can't really blame him because it's absolutely trash. But I honestly wasn't sure what to expect coming out of this, given I do like Jake's vocals a fair bit, but ILLENIUM's recent singles just haven't really had that same magic for me, and especially after Insanity, I was expecting this to be a total dud. The shocker is, this is actually really good. In fact, this might be one of the best of the singles from the new album coming so far. Yes, I wish the percussion went a bit harder on the drops. ILLENIUM's heavier future bass kicks just haven't really been used to great effect, and this song just proves that his more acoustic percussion doesn't really match wonders with his style. But man, this song's atmosphere is potent as all hell. The synths sound really good, the backing chipmunk vocals actually work quite well, and the drops have this really driving energy to them that remind me of some of the best moments from Ashes for me. Hell, Jake actually sounds really good here too, with his vocal delivery that matches this ethereal sound really well. I was honestly surprised he worked so well here, given I was not a fan of his performance on Hero by Martin Garrix at all. It's only gotten worse with time. But yeah, I'm actually impressed by his vocal delivery here. He really commands this song. I mean, yes, the percussion problems mean it's not a great song, but by the standards of modern ILLENIUM, especially with the names involved, this was way better than I expected. Honestly, really damn good. I'm not complaining that it's here. Hopefully it sticks around. In fact, you know what? With All My Heart by ILLENIUM and Jake is actually getting the best of the week. Yeah, I'm dead serious about it. It was that solid for me. I mean, that's not saying much. The debuts this week weren't particularly interesting or great across the board, especially compared to Depeche Mode, where I could have had a lot more to discuss, but still, it wasn't terrible. I mean, that's putting aside that absolute trash heap of a song Crying on the Dance Floor by Endless Summer and Violet Days. Hopefully that fucking garbage manages to underperform and completely flop. Songs as blatant in their cash grabbing have absolutely no business being on this chart, chart, and yeah, when you make I'm Good Blue look good, you can royally fuck off. Next week, I have absolutely no idea what to expect aside from the long-awaited return of the band Jungle. So yeah, a lot to look forward there, but otherwise I have no idea what to expect. But yeah, that's all for this episode of an analysis of dance. See you next time.